It's this white point of view that came into how we do. Then the system was like, oh, look at polygamy. The men are sluts. Oh my God. And look how they just treat the women. And to be honest with you, now I'm in my 40s. Like, there is nothing wrong with polygamy. Essentially, polygamy made sure that everybody, all the women are sorted out. It's cool. And it was open. Now we've got a situation where it's cheating and, oh, I'm so hurt. But these are all constructs, social constructs that came nabelung, he's cheating on you. Do you know, before it wasn't, it's like, okay, that's my sister wife, that's my sister wife. I get on with my things here. Now it's like, it's called cheating and it's a bad thing and, you know.
Cheating is a social construct.
Cheating is a social...
There's no such thing as cheating.
Who... Did God say that men and women must be married and sign papers? Is that a divine? Is that just like how we breathe and how we need water, right? Do we need marriage and papers? You're not gonna drop dead. God is not gonna strike you with lightning because you've married 2 people. So marriage is a social construct. We made it up. It's this white.
All right, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles, the elders, and the bishops. A great millstone, shalom to you, brothers, especially in truth, across the 4 winds of the earth. And I want to touch on this real quick. Going through and clearing out my bookmarks, making the videos that I've been having, for my videos. I've been having my bookmarks for a while, and this is another one that came up, or that I had bookmarked. So she's talking about, which she is right. She said she was talking about how this is pretty much an Esau. the white people thing came up with that, and I looked it up. And in one of my videos, not too long ago, probably a couple weeks or a month ago, about when did the monogamous stuff start, and it wasn't like they said, from what I seen, that it wasn't in a particular point in time that they can say, but it started around the Greek and Roman time, where that became a thing, man. Where they started to implement a man just with one woman, right? And from there, it's been a thing, that's been amongst, Esau, because that's who they were. The Romans, Edomites, it's been among them that the culture that they push, right? And that just goes to show you that, it's just really this is really something that they just believe, because that's not really practiced every single way. Even in America, there is certain people, there's polygamous families, right? And in other countries, I know, probably like out there, in the middle, the so-called Middle East, over there, yeah, I know for sure they practice it out there, and amongst those cultures, I know the regions of Africa, I know they probably do it out there too. Like this stuff was very normal, and it was very normal in the scriptures, man. You see, but we're coming back into that, right? We're coming back into that, and we understand, that the women, that you learning you're an Israelite, or you want to starting to get into it. We understand that it may be a hard thing for you, to understand, get your head around, the concept, to do these things, but it's just, it is what it is, right? And you don't have to worry about, you feeling some type of way, because at the end of the day, when we get into the kingdom, you don't have new bodies, you don't have the righteous way, the perfect way of thinking. So it's going to be normal, man. Even though, your flesh might not, agree with it now. And that's really not a thing anyway that should be happening amongst the brotherhood. And we know that, everybody's situation is going to be different. Just like the Apostle Paul said, all things are lawful unto me, but doesn't, all things are lawful, but doesn't mean, everything's expedient. doesn't mean you really should be doing it, because we're not in really time, and we're not in the time and the place to be doing that. But like I said, everybody's situation is different. Every brother's situation is different. So a brother might have, enough money, enough funds, big enough place to have, a second wife. You all guys all live together, whatever the case may be, which is very possible. But we've coming into the time of that our main focus need to be on, the scriptures, and you can't really do all that having all these women, getting all these women to you, because women are a creature that that needs, to spend time with them, to do things with them, take them here, do these things, and then so on and so forth. And now there's that. Now I'm not speaking for every single woman that know the Israelites, because there is women out there that know the Israelites that don't care, right? They don't care about their man having that. But that's not majority. I would not say that wouldn't be majority of the women that follow the truth, even though that it can, but it still doesn't fit right with you, which is something I get it. You've been to Babylon the Great, whatever the case may be, but that's something that you and your man deal with. If you okay with it, y'all talk about it, then cool. And as a man, you don't, and it's your right to do that, but you don't want to sit here and mess up a situation that you got going on, because you can't you would think, even though you are the head of the house, you are in control of everything, but if you got a situation, I'll just say this: don't mess it up, man. You shouldn't be heaping all the wives and all the women to you, man. But like I said, everybody's situation is due, man. You do according to how the Lord, does to you, man. And we know in the time's gonna come when Jacob's trouble and all the stuff, that Isaiah 4:1 is gonna be fulfilled, where the 7 women is gonna take hold of one woman, and that 7 is just completion, right? But that's when that appointed time, everything in due season. That's what that appointed time is gonna happen, right? But to get back on what she was saying, that started around the Greek Roman thing. For when I looked up. Right now, I want to look up. I'll do it in a second. I'll keep mentioning some of the things that she's saying. But she was right. That paper and all that stuff. You don't even though Well, I'll say this. That paperwork and all the other stuff. She is right, because when you read certain stories in the scripture, there was Esau wasn't sitting around waiting, and then there was a ring bearer, and they was throwing petals, and you get down on one. That stuff is not that, man. When a man lay down with a woman, and that woman is your wife, right? That's how the Most High, made it, right? That's how the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, made it, right? That's the order, right? Not you getting down on one knee, you put a ring on it, and then you get a piece of paper. I heard that the marriage license expired. So if the paper expires, it's all a money thing, man. They get you to spend thousands, because weddings. I'm probably gonna look that up too. Let's actually look this stuff up now. So I actually want to see, because it's just a money grabbing thing, man. Now I want to look up first. I want to look up what the definition of a social construct is, right? Social. If I can spell it right. Social construct. A social construct is an idea or concept created and maintained by society rather than existing naturally, right? And one thing she did say was wrong, though. She said was that we made up marriage as a social construct, and that was a false statement based off this definition. It says an idea or concept created and maintained by society, and this was created, by the Heavenly Father. This was ordained. That was His laws. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. It says rather than existing naturally. It says it's something that exists because people collectively agree on its meaning and significance, shaping how they behave and interact. Examples include money, race, and gender roles. Right, and that's another false thing too, because gender roles, when it comes to the roles of what the male is supposed to do and what the woman is supposed to do, that's all in the scriptures, man. You see, all that stuff is in the scriptures. You just read the scriptures and you find out what you need to find out. Right, and then so I looked up that. I want to look up the average cost of a wedding. That's what I want to look up. Average cost. It's about definitely know it's gonna be 30,000, 20 some thousand. Exactly. 2024. It says the average cost of a wedding in 2024 is around 33. That's the start of it. It says, according to the High Mountains Weddings and Fidelity, it says this figure includes both the ceremony and reception and can vary based on location, guest count, and other factors. For example, weddings in states with higher average incomes like New York, New Jersey, New York, and Massachusetts tend to be more expensive. Right, and they break it down. The venue, 5,000 to 15. The catering, $50 to $150 per person. The wedding dress, 2,000. Photography, 4,000. Music, 2,500. Florist and decorations, 2,000. You see, all this stuff is just a money grab, man. Even though there's nothing wrong with you having a ceremony, doing all this stuff, all these things. But this as a whole, getting down on the one knee, doing all this stuff, that's an American thing, right? Because was there absolute ceremonies and stuff, and along in the scriptures, of course, but there's certain ways to go about these things, because when you how it was when you were dealing with parents. When you were dealing with parents and dealing with women, these women, their daughters, like let's say you're dealing with a woman, how it was, in the times of old, in the scriptures, where you would, the father, would give, promise, his daughter unto somebody, right, and she would be held, and until that time, to pretty much her to get sent off. And like the agreements and the contracts between families and whatever the case, all that stuff, was dealt accordingly, right? All that stuff was dealt with accordingly and in order, And that's something that we're going back to. We're going back into. Now, getting back to what she was talking about, that is a very normal thing, right? And the women, which I'm going to read in here in a second. Women were, it's not going to be a super long video either. I just want to touch on a particular topic, because I know some women say, oh no, see, it was just given to this before this example, which I'm going to read an example where that happened. And then I'm going to read an example where it didn't happen, right? Because we know King Solomon had many women, man. And it wasn't a sin for him. He had 1,000 women. And he wasn't going off for having that many women. He started going off when he started, worshiping their gods and building these things, temples and altars, and he started doing those things. That's when he started going off. Not him having the women, right? Not him having the women. But I know some people would say, no, see, it was okay because it was given to for pretty much a surrogate, right? And there is examples where the Israelite woman had handmaids. She wasn't barren. She wasn't barren, so she gave her handmaid to her husband, right? And I'm gonna actually get that. I think I put it up right here. Yeah, between Sarah and Hagar, right? This is one of them. It says, which was Sarai. Her name will change to Sarah. This is Genesis 16, right? And this is we're gonna start at 1. It says, now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. It says, and Sarai said unto Abram, behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go into my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Right? It says in NLT, I'm going to read the NLT, Genesis 16:4. It says, so Abram had sexual relations with Hagar, and she became pregnant. But when Hagar knew she was pregnant, she began to treat her mistress Sarai with contempt. You see? So that was an example that some people be like, oh, see, that's brain fog for a moment after I finished reading that. Some people will say that, and see, that was just in that example. There was an example to where she did it, but at the end of the day, if that was the case, that goes to show you that it's not off, and she didn't really have a problem. She didn't have really a problem with it. She didn't care, and there's plenty of examples where these women had the Israelite woman had servants, handmaids underneath them, and then would give them to their husbands to have another woman. Right? See all this stuff, that she was talking about in the video about how it was a problem. You looking at this other woman like with the spite and all that stuff. It's not really a thing, man. Right? Because we was all the women always that's something that the women knew, man. Just like how an example of when this is a completely different example, a different topic. How when Yahushua was talking to the disciples and stuff, they're saying who do they see, who do they say that I am, right? He was asking them that, and the conversation was going on because they knew about reincarnation, right? And just like how now these women knew that there's nothing wrong with it. They knew this is a law, this is a custom of ours that men can have more than one, right? Where that started to stop, and started being custom and started to be, looked down upon was when we started to go through these various captivities. When these things started to happen, then we started to, slowly, get rid of, some of the customs, some of our laws, until we completely forgot who he was. And that's in Jeremiah. Thou should discontinue from thine heritage, right? But now we're coming back, into remembering the things that we once knew. And that was one of the things, right? Like I said, everybody's situation different. Not something we should supposed to be doing that much. If you got one woman, let that woman be enough. Let your situation do what you got to do, man. Right? And this is not advice. I'm just saying that's what's been taught, from the the apostles, elders on down, man. Right? You gotta let some things, you can just wait for the kingdom, or wait for an appointed time to where it happens, man. Because we know there's gonna be a lot of brothers out there that when, like I said, Jacob's trouble, when that happens, the Lord is gonna be pairing people up, right? The Lord's gonna be pairing women up with men, right? Now let's get this. I want to read this one, not that. It's still pulled up. I want to read this, right? This area with situation with King David, right? This is 2 Samuel 12. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'm gonna start at 7. It says, and Nathan said to David, thou art the man, thus saith the Lord, power of Israel. It says, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives, more than one, into thy bosom. See, now this is not an example of somebody being a surrogate or whatever the case may be. You see, it says, into wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. It says, and if it had been too little, listen, and if it had been too little, I would have moreover have given you unto thee such I would have moreover have given unto thee such and such things. Let's get this in. I'm gonna read this in NLT. All right. Read this in NLT. This is 2 Samuel 12 and 8. And the NLT said, I gave you your master's house and his wives and the kingdom of Israel and Judah. Kingdom of Israel and Judah. It says, and if that had not been enough, I would have given you much, much more. See, he would have given him much, much more. And what was included in that? More women. If he needed more, he would have gave him more. You see? But you see, the thing is, that goes to show you that there's nothing wrong with it, man. It's just not one thing that you can go into the scriptures and disprove that men are not supposed to have more than one woman. Even the other nations had more than one woman. Esau himself had more than one wife. You see, and I brought that out in a video that I made not too long ago. Even Esau had more than one. You see? This is it's a very normal thing, man. That's why she said she got to a point where she doesn't care no more, because she realized it's not. The thing is, it's not how the American way shows it, man. It's nothing like that, because you don't understand that, especially amongst the Israelite women. You women, it's different now. It's different with a concubine or a heathen, because they're not on the same level as you. The concubines and the women of the other nations was never on the same level or status of an Israelite wife. So amongst the Israelite women, right? So if you said cheating, now what she did say too, before I say my point, cheating is that because you ain't seen cheating in the Bible. He cheated on me. No, man, that ain't the thing. You see that all this stuff, it goes back to order, right? So amongst the Israelite women, you wouldn't see her as no enemy, or she's sleeping with my man when I'm not. No, you wouldn't see that as that. And some women, and some people, and some women don't see it nowadays, because like I said, there's some Israelite women that don't care, right? Because at the end of the day, in a society like this, if everybody's, let's say, if you got the women, that do work, whatever the case may be, let's say all three people are working, right? All three people are working, and y'all live in a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom with a big basement or something, or who knows, right? 3-bedroom, whatever the case, right? That's 3 different incomes. That's 3 different people to do this. And I say one has a child. I say one has to go to work while the other woman's at home. And you got somebody to look after the child, right? You got somebody to look after the child while the man's at work. One of you have to go to work tonight or something, and then that leaves you trying to drop it off of her parents and drop it off with her. Now you have another wife. You have another sister. You have somebody you can talk to. You can do sisterly things with, and go out to eat. And if y'all want to do whatever the case, go get your nails done, hair done. Go do that. That's a companion, man. That's a companion. That's your sister wife, man. Y'all do, and there's no you sleeping with my man. You fighting, do no, man. You don't care about that. At the end of the day, what happens? When we go back to the scriptures, what happens when, even though we know we can't really do that in this time, when your woman's on your period, though, they're really supposed to be in a separate area, a separate house, because everything that you touch, sit on, and do is unclean. And obviously, we don't have, we're not in a time period that men just have a whole bunch of houses and they can send you off to for the time of your monthly finish, So if you know your man, you can't do nothing for a week or however long it goes, right? And you can't do nothing with him. Then she might not be on hers, and you still want your man to be to get his satisfaction. Get the stuff that he needs. You're right, and then boom, there's nothing wrong with that, man. I can't do nothing, but hey, look, you have her, she can do it. You see. And see, the society has completely warped the minds of the people, man. Especially when it comes to certain laws, when it comes to pretty much everything, actually. What you're supposed to eat, how you're supposed to dress, who you can and cannot deal with, all these things. Society has completely changed everything, man. It's been flipped. You see, the society and the way everything's run here is really contrary to the scriptures, man. But it's become so normal that when you hear these things, you don't understand, right? And that it's not an evil or nasty. You just lustful, brother, and there's nothing wrong with lust. You dumb lustful. What's wrong with me lusting after my wife, or lusting after my woman? What's wrong with that? Or lusting after a woman that don't have it, man? There's nothing wrong with lust. So you go and tell you that is just a foolish, unlearned statement that you say. Because what's wrong with that? Right? I'm trying to think what else she said. She said she was pretty much okay with it. And that was pretty much it. I know I kind of went off topic and rambled a little bit and doing all things, but I hope some edification and understanding came from it. I think that's pretty much it. I don't got nothing else to say. That the woman, she was right. She was right, because that is very normal, man. That is a very normal thing, right? And that thing is still a thing amongst other cultures. And now America, that's just taught in all these other societies, because all these other countries and these other places around the world, because America has rule over the entire earth right now. So their philosophies, that's why it says it made the earth drunk. The earth is made. Let's actually get that. It's Revelation real quick. It's Revelation. What is that? 17. Is it 17? Yeah, Revelation 17. That's why it didn't probably pop up, because I have it in NLT. But hey, this right here in NLT is good too. It says the great prostitute, because that's what the word, whore. It's another word for the word whore. The great prostitute. It says, Revelation 17:1, it says, one of the seven angels who had poured out unto the seven bowls of the bowls came over and spoke to me. Come with me, he said, and I will show you the judgment that is going to come on the great prostitute who rules over many waters. Right? It says the kings of the world have committed adultery with her, and the people who belong to this world have been made drunk by the wine of her immortality. You see? And that's what the people have. These people are running around drunk with the wine, which is America's policies, his laws, his rules, his ideologies, all these things. These people have been made drunk, right? Because you've been in this place for too long, and America has been pushing they've been pushing their doctrine on the whole entire world, man, because they have the power to do that, right? They have the power to, but that was given to them from Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. That power has been given to them to do these things, man. And just like another scripture says in Revelation, it says they've given the power to take they've been given the power to take peace from the earth, right? And the true peace comes from the word, right? Because the words is life, right? Baruch 4:1, right? The words is life, and America has completely taken away that. Because they think what they're pushing is right, and how they conduct and what they need to do and so on and so forth. They think they're right. They think their policies is correct. And that's why the earth is completely out of order, man. It's completely out of order. It's out of sync. You see? That's just a part of it. That's the part of the Esau being in rulership. And then one of the things that they have demonized and made these people think that is wrong is men having more than one woman. Right? That's just one of the things. Right? But we coming back, into remembrance of the things that we once knew. Right? And order is being established again. Right? So that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about. So hope the listeners are edifying. I know, like I said, I rambled. Might have been all over the place, but I hope, the points, that I said was made. And I hope you got some type of edification out of it. Right? Because that's the point.